Arizona Sunshine is nearly 9 years old. Does that feel weird to anyone else? This game's gonna be a decade old next year, which means VR really isn't a new medium anymore. Which is why it's shocking that Arizona Sunshine is still one of the best VR experiences out there. Now I know that's a bold claim because, like I said, Arizona Sunshine came out in 2016 and there have been a lot of VR games released since then. But there's just something special about Arizona Sunshine that no other VR game has been able to produce as effectively. Except for the remake, but I'm saving that discussion for another video, so subscribe for that. Anyways, what made Arizona Sunshine so great? I'm not really sure where to start, so I guess I'll begin with what I probably titled this video. Arizona Sunshine is still the best VR zombie game, and that's mostly because it's much more than just a zombie game. I don't think it's really even fair to classify the game that way. In a time when the world was pretty tired from apocalyptic media, Arizona Sunshine did something different. This game feels like a post-apocalyptic western. The game is bright, the graphics are beautiful, it's set in Arizona, and most of the game takes place outside in very open spaces. By no means does this game feel like a traditional piece of apocalyptic-based media. Arizona Sunshine still feels so fresh, and it's mostly because of the game's atmosphere, or at least the factors that help build the game's atmosphere. Let's expand on that a bit. The pattern I've noticed with all the VR games I've really come to love comes down to just how immersive they feel. All of those games make me feel like I'm in a different world, which I guess is really the point of a VR headset. Once you're immersed in a VR experience, whatever atmosphere that game tries to establish has amplified effects because it's in VR. I should probably clarify, when I'm talking about a game's atmosphere, I'm referring to the overall emotion and mood the game invokes in me, whether intentional or not, and how effectively it accomplishes that. Arizona Sunshine has an atmosphere, and it's perfect. In a piece of media, the atmosphere is established through audio and visual elements, assuming it's not a book. I think it's best we discuss the audio and visual elements of Arizona Sunshine separately, because oddly, they're both of equal importance in this argument, which I feel is usually not the case. I think most games focus primarily on the visual elements. So let's start with the visuals because I have a lot more I want to say about the audio. Arizona Sunshine still looks great. Keep in mind, I'm playing on PC. Naturally, the game doesn't look as good on the Quest port. Speaking of, it's actually really impressive they were able to port this whole game to Quest with minimal cuts to content. Also worth mentioning, the Quest 3 version of the remake has much better graphics, so if that's your thing and you can't find a way to play on PC, I would recommend. That's all I'll say about the remake in this video though, because again, I want to talk about that separately. Technically, this game is beautiful. The lighting effects are really nice. Just take a look at the mineshaft level. The way the flashlight works is still amazing. On top of that, Arizona Sunshine also has amazing design work. The environments in this game are extremely well made. Combine that with the graphical capabilities and it helps tremendously with the whole immersion thing. I've personally never been to Arizona, but I will be extremely disappointed if it does not look like this. Even in the more suburban areas of the world, the game does a great job at making this world feel like it was lived in. None of the houses you enter ever unintentionally feel empty. They all feel like they had people living in here at one point. It's also worth mentioning there's a decent portion of environmental storytelling in this game, which is a nice touch. Most of it is just little jokes with where the zombies are positioned, like the one on the toilet, but sometimes there's something with a little more substance, like the Lucy signs. I want to discuss the gameplay here because it's a bit unique. Arizona Sunshine somewhat follows the format of an old school shooter. You progress through levels, each with a different environment, and you shoot zombies along the way. That's not what's unique about it. What's unique about it is the combat mechanics. The reloading in this game is a little weird, and I think that's due to the game being a product of its time. Back in 2016, no one really knew how a VR game should work. Every developer had to come up with their own system for things because the standards hadn't been set yet. Considering that, the developers, Vertigo Games, did a really good job. The only real issue with the combat system can come with the way that your holsters work. You have two holsters, one on each side of your hip. All of your weapons can be stored in either of them. The only thing about this system that you could consider annoying is the fact that by default, the weapons stick in your hands. Like once you pick up a weapon, you can't put it down without holding a face button on the controller for a while. So you can actually hold 4 weapons at a time, 2 in the holsters and 1 in each hand. It's really a non-problem, but I would say it's the worst thing about this game. Fortunately, there is an option called weapons drop, which makes it so anytime you release the grip, your weapon drops if you don't put it in the holster. This is the best way of playing in my opinion, especially if you're going for the whole immersion thing. Reloading. The way you reload in Arizona Sunshine sounds odd, but in practice, it's actually very satisfying. You're able to effectively play with a weapon in each hand, because the way you reload is by pressing a face button on either controller to release a magazine, and then moving the empty gun to your ammo belt to reload it. I know it sounds kind of odd, but it actually fits this game very well, especially because you need to reload frequently while in combat, and if you get a nice rhythm going, it feels very satisfying. I don't think any other VR game has used this system, but I could be wrong in that statement. Speaking of satisfying, the weapons in Arizona Sunshine sound great. Just listen to these sound bites. Awesome. Especially when you get a good string of headshots going, it just makes you feel perfect. That comes back to our immersion. For the most part, Arizona Sunshine has a very upbeat tone, or at least an active tone. It's all very warm, except for one distinct level in the game. My favorite level, the refinery. That idea of immersing yourself in a game's atmosphere peaks in this level. The day turned to night, and you have to explore an abandoned and desolate oil refinery. It's a major tonal shift in every way. It feels cold, and it's delivered perfectly. As I mentioned, for the most part this game feels warm, probably because it's set in the Arizona desert in the middle of the day. But even the non-desert based environments still feel this way. Like the mineshaft level has this warm tone to it because within the game, it's been turned into a tourist attraction. It never feels desolate, and physically the map is very open. Honestly, very few of the environments feel desolate, and they all feel very open. I think this helps create the warm tone. You never feel trapped, so you never really feel alone, except for in the refinery level. But even the story primarily, I don't want to say it's based on hope, but you have a goal the whole time. We know there's people out there and we need to go find them. It's something motivating, it's active, it's upbeat. Again, that's the tone of each level except the refinery. As we walk through the refinery, we hear the player character actively realizing there's no one left. All the survivors that were in the refinery are either gone or dead. This level has a lot more of a defeated and angry mood to it than the rest of the game, and the soundtrack fits perfectly. It is one of the most fitting track placements in a video game that I have ever experienced.
Not good. Not good.
I'll get back to the story in a bit, but first we need to discuss the music because Arizona Sunshine has an amazing soundtrack. As I've mentioned in previous videos about other soundtracks, not because it's the best music ever made, but because it perfectly encapsulates and amplifies what you're experiencing through the visuals and gameplay of the game. A soundtrack can make or break that idea of a game's atmosphere, and Arizona Sunshine's case is definitely the former. This game's soundtrack is, I really need to come up with some different words. It's atmospheric. I don't want to say it's droning because of that word's negative connotation. It's kind of cinematic and it maintains that warm feel, except for in the refinery. There are some tracks that are more musical than others, but for the most part it just feels like very melodic background noise. I don't even want to call it that because it sounds very derogatory, and the soundtrack is such an integral part of this game. Just that little chord when you walk outside for the first time in the first level adds so much. Or even that opening track when you're in the trailer. That little melody makes the trailer a lot more memorable than it otherwise would be. It feels uncomfortable and a bit nostalgic at the same time. I don't even know how to describe it. And then that melody is reused with a different connotation in the refinery level. I don't know what else to say. The soundtrack just feels perfect. Good job, Jonathan Van Den Wijngaarden. Wijngaarden? Good job, Jonathan. You deserve immensely more recognition. Let's talk about the story a little bit on that note. You play as far as you know, lone survivor of the zombie apocalypse. Standard setup. Interestingly, through some environmental storytelling, we find out that people were well aware of the virus before it caused all the mutation. In the refinery, we see posters about getting vaccinated for presumably this virus. Anyways, shortly after the game starts, you find a radio which, oddly, is receiving a broadcast.
Hey, a radio.
From there, the goal of the game is to survive and find whoever's transmitting the broadcast. Using this premise, the game takes you to a bunch of different environments, all based in an Arizona Red Rock style desert. Think of the Grand Canyon if you need a reference point. There's a mine shaft turned tourist attraction, the refinery, a couple of suburban areas, and a few more distinct locations. The story itself isn't anything special. What is special is the player character. Throughout the game, the primary way we experience the story is through exposition given by the player character.
Someone's broadcasted something, but where?
Aside from that, the player character, who I'm pretty sure is never actually given a name, that's why I just keep calling him the player character, also makes comments about whatever situation you're currently in. There's quips, little jokes, and some dialogue to just convey whatever emotion the main character is feeling. You know, just stuff to give the main character personality.
Hey, Fred, what you doing? Hanging out?
The main character's voice actor, Sky Soleil, does an amazing job with the line delivery. He's one of the factors that makes this game so good. Some of the dialogue is a little bit campy, which I think it's supposed to be, but Sky's delivery does an immaculate job of conveying just what kind of person the player character is supposed to be. This was a home run of a casting decision, and funny story about Sky Soleil. I actually interviewed him when I was probably the age of an average Gorilla Tag player, long before Gorilla Tag was ever out. Actually, I'm giving Gorilla Tag too much credit. I was older than that. Anyways, I did a horrible job with the interview, but he was so nice and so patient. Sky, if you're out there, I apologize that you had to deal with my socially awkward and inept ass. And I am forever thankful that you actually entertained my little poorly made YouTube show. Also, I did not know you were in Straight Outta Compton. Good job. Overall, Arizona Sunshine feels like it was made with love. Vertigo Games hit a home run early on in the VR industry. Not everything in this game is expertly crafted, but that's part of the reason why it's still so good. It's a unique experience. It has character. There are a few aspects of the game I haven't mentioned yet, like the Horde mode and the DLCs. I'm going to save the greater conversation about those for the video I make on the Arizona Sunshine remake. However, I will say the Horde mode is fun, but it can get a little boring, so I do suggest playing with friends. It's much more fun. The Horde mode maps are cool. They're all based on ideas from the campaign, but the maps were made purposefully for the Horde mode, so that's pretty cool, and the Railroad is the best one. As far as the DLCs, they're both short experiences. The Damned isn't much, and Dead Man is so good that it's comparable to the main campaign. It would probably be better if it wasn't so short, but still, that DLC has great versions of all those factors that can establish a perfect atmosphere. And it does have a different tone and mood to the main campaign, so that's actually pretty cool. But again, I'll save the larger conversation on that for later. Please subscribe. I need to say that before. That'll about do it for this video because everyone will click off. Seriously though, I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers and I would really appreciate if you guys could help me get there. The support on the previous videos has been amazing so far. And let me know what videos you'd like to see. Your suggestions are welcome. I'm thinking about branching out beyond VR games. While I will still cover them, there's just, more to talk about naturally with a larger pool of games. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching.